Okay guys, so welcome to the next part, and in this part we can I will show you what is Dyntopo. So as you can see now, if I sculpt on the mesh, you can see that our model is quite low detail, because you can see all the faces here, and if I draw, it will not add any geometry, it will only move the faces that I sculpt on more outside, and this is quite limited. And if I want to add a nose, for example, now if I add a nose here, for example, you can see that it's very stretched, and you can see all the faces that makes our nose. And here comes the Dyntopo, which is the problem solver and very useful tool. And if you enable it, here you should have it on the right panel, right top, and if you enable it, you can see that something changed. And now if you sculpt, you can see that everything that you sculpt is basically a new geometry, so it will not make your faces go more outward, it will add a geometry, so everything will stay not stretched, and this is very super useful. And now you can sculpt, not worrying about other stuff. Yeah, so there's a few properties under Dyntopo. Here you have the detail of the mesh that will be created. So if you change it to very high, 50. Oh my gosh, what's happened? Yeah, it's the opposite. So if you change to very small one, you can see that the detail is very high, and if you change to very small numbers, so for a very big number, so for example 50, you can see that yeah, you can see all the faces, and the detail is quite low right now. So the default is 12, and yeah, you can see the detail size. And refine method is basically, I will explain it later, but keep it on subdivide collapse. Basically it will allow you to subdivide the mesh and also collapse the mesh. So for example, here you can see that I have bigger faces, and if I draw it, it will basically subdivide it to make them smaller. And if I change to smaller brush, smaller detail, so for example 16, if I draw it again, it will collapse it. So yeah, it will make it more less detailed. So this is basically what subdivide collapse does. And detailing is basically the way the detail works. So for example, if now I have, let's change the detail size to 10, I draw something, you can see the detail of it, so you can see the small faces here. But if I move it far away and I start drawing, you can see that it also adds a geometry, but it's less detailed than this one, because on this one we were far away from our model, and when we sculpted this one we are very close. And this is what relative detail does. So if I'm very close to my mesh and I start drawing here, you can see that this geometry that I drew, this one is a lot more detailed than this one, because I was very close to it, and this one was like the least detailed, because I was the farthest away. So this is what relative detail does, and people usually use relative detail or constant detail. Don't worry about this too. Brush detail will basically use the detail of the brush, and manual detail you have to manually like do it, but I usually use the constant detail. So basically constant detail means that it doesn't matter where you are, like how far from the model, it will always be the same detail. So if I change the resolution to high number, for example 20, and in this if you change it to constant detail, this will be called resolution, and now if you change it to high number, you will have high detail, and if you have very small resolution, you will have very small detail. So it is opposite to relative detail, which is very weird, because yeah, if you change it to higher, you get less detail. So change it to constant detail, and if I change it to 30, for example, maybe 20, you can see that here I sculpted something, and if I change it to be very close to my model and I sculpt it again, you can see that this detail compared to this one is the same. So no matter how far you are from your mesh, it will always be the same detail. So I usually use this one, actually, constant detail, because I like to control my detail size. So yeah, and this is the most important part, guys, and yeah, let's move on maybe to symmetry. Symmetry basically, as you saw, that everything that I sculpted on the right side was mirrored to the left side, because I had the mirror modifier on. If I had it off, it wouldn't work. So if I sculpt it on the right side, this will not be affected on the left side, but I want it on, and you can do the mirror on like on the all axis. So if I draw it on y axis, you can see that it mirrors it on the y axis, and you can do it also with the z axis, but yeah, most people don't use it. They usually use the x-axis. And now don't worry about this other stuff, they're not that important for now. I will explain them later. So let's maybe do the live demo of it. Okay, so guys, so let's start. Or let's start maybe from the basic shape. So let's delete this one. I will add a new cube. Let's subdivide it 2 times, and let's apply the subdivision. I go to object mode, I change to grab brush, and basically now I have Dyntopo off, because let's change to my setup, so I have different views. I have Dyntopo off because I want to define the shapes first, so I will place them in the correct positions, and then I will enable Dyntopo if I'm adding some geometry. So here I will just basically make the shape of the head. You can already see that this is clearly the head, and yeah, this is basically finished for the basic shape of the head. And now I can enable Dyntopo because I want to add a horns to my 3D model. So I changed to snake hook brush that we talked about earlier, and this will basically pull out the geometry. And you can see that the detail is quite high right now, and I don't want that. So I changed the resolution to be 10, for example, and I can pull out the horns. And maybe I can pull them to this point, and I can also use the snake tool brush to make the geometry closer to each other. So I want these horns to be quite spiky, so I will move this part closer to each other, so they will be, so this will look more spiky. And let's see from this side how it looks. Let's use the grab brush to move it more forward or backwards, move it more to the back, And now I have the basic horns. So let's think about my character. I think that it will not have the eyes. It will have the eyes, but they will not be visible. So I wanted to have like basically a mask. So I used the clay strip brush to draw this mask. So here you can see that this will be the mask of our model, our character. Yeah, so here will be the mask area. And also let's make it more visible, the separation between the mask and the actual face. So I use the crease brush. Let me drag out the properties here so you can see the names, and I just crease it like below the mask, so you can see that now the gaps is bigger between our mask and face. And I use the smooth brush to smooth everything. Okay, so here we have the basic shape. Let's also crease it from the side. And let's move on again to the front view. So we can crease it again here maybe. And here I actually want my character to have a different body part. So another part of the armor. So I can sculpt again with the clay strip stripe an armor here. Okay, so I want now to add cheekbones. So I use the inflate brush and I drag it from the sides. So this will be cheek meat. And here I have the basic cheek size. And let's maybe drag down the chin area because it was too short. And now I can use the crease brush to define the lips. So yeah, this will be the lips of my character. Maybe it doesn't look cool, but this will be the basics, so it doesn't matter. And also we can make a very small nose here. So I use the draw brush and I draw this small nose here. Yeah, so our character looks something like this for now. It looks awful, but we can smooth it out. So first I add the geometry here, so the chin will have more detail, and I smooth it out a bit. Let's pull out the chin a bit like this. Not a bit, quite a bit, because I want my character to be exaggerated, so he will have this long chin. And also let's draw a clay stripes here, so we'll have more geometry here. And now I use the mask tool to mask this area, because I want to pull out the neck of this guy. So I mask this area, I click Ctrl I to invert the mask, and now I use the snake hook brush to pull out the geometry. So here I pull out the geometry, and now let's shape the neck. So he will be quite, maybe I will make him slim or not. No, he looks weird. Maybe, yeah, more muscular neck, like bigger one. Looks better. Okay, and now we can Alt M to hide the mask, and we can add some geometry here. This will be very quick, guys, so don't criticize me for this ugly piece. And I can make a crease between his head and also in his neck, because yeah, basically you have it. And let's move it out a bit. Here we can add some more geometry by using the clay strip brush, and let's add more geometry. And let's see, yeah, he looks like some villain. Let's see if I can play with the cheeks, make them look more bigger a bit. No, he looks very weird now. Maybe I can move this closer to each other. No. Maybe you can smooth this. Let's move it out. And let's see how it looks. Okay, it looks not bad, but I would add something. So let's use the crease brush, and now we want to do the opposite version. So I want to use control, and we want to make this hard line here, so it will look more like an armor. And also on his cheek, I want his cheek to be quite harsh. Yeah, so you can see that he has this hard line now. And maybe also on the chin, you can also make this. Yeah, so he looks quite squarish now. Let me smooth this part out, and we can add Adam's apple. I don't know how to say it, but the throat, I think, in English. Here, the throat, with the draw brush. Okay, so I can keep playing with this. So let's add the crease brush here. Let's crease it here. Let's see. Okay, it looks nice. And now basically, guys, this is the start point of my sculpt, and I usually change the resolution to be higher now, because I have the basic shapes done, and now I can add some details. So I changed the resolution to be, I don't know, 25. Yeah, it's okay, and I can add some details now. So there's one cool neat thing, but I think my blender will crash, so let's save it. Let's call it tutorial sculpting. And now if I go to the Dyntopo and I clicked detail flat fill, it will crash. Let's see. Oh, it didn't crash. Wow. So basically, if you click detail flat fill, it will fill our mesh with the detail that we give it. So now if I smooth everything out, you can see that it has a bigger detail. So let's smooth everything out with the shift button. I can make the basic, and I can do the same thing now. So basically refining the shapes. Let me see his mouth. Maybe I will use the crease brush to make it more obvious that he's smiling. We can add some geometry here. And we can smooth this part out. Let's yeah, and let's add a hole in this part because everyone has this hole, and yeah, he looks quite cheeky. The nose, very simple. I can define it more by using the crease brush, and this place also I can define it more. And let's move this part out, and we can use the pinch brush, which is here, to pinch the vertices closer to each other, so we'll have this nice line, yeah, as you can see, and also here. Let's move this out. Okay guys, so I think you can play with this more if you want, but I will leave it as it's like this, because yeah, it already looks okay, and I don't want to spend more time on this. We can add some diamond here, for example, or something on his head, so he looks like, I don't know, anime character. So yeah, he has some diamond on his head, like the guy in the Avengers. I don't know, I forgot his name, the red one. And yeah, he has the diamond. Let's look from the side. It's quite flat diamond, so we can use the crease brush, and let's specify the line where the diamonds should be. So here we can see the line of the diamond. It looks awful, so we can add more geometry here and here also. Okay, so let's crease brush this one, and again use the same strategy, so opposite of crease brush. And it looks awful, but let's maybe use the scrape brush to flatten those sides. Yeah, so you have something that looks more like diamond on his head, and yeah, this is very rough guys, but I think this will be it for this tutorial, and I will expand on it in future. So thank you, and see you guys in the next one. Bye.